Oh, okay. I think we're live. Let me just see. We don't have our production assistant today, so we're going to just get it up on the screen to make sure. Last week we were sideways, so we're going to make sure everything's right for our viewers. And welcome. Let's see here. Are we good? Not yet. Welcome to episode number 10 of Inside the Junior Reign, where we show you a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into together making youth sports a life-changing experience. I am your club president, Ben Frank. With me, as always, is our Chief of Hockey Operations, Paul Esdale. Say hi to everyone, Paul.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode.
And what we're trying to do just before we get things started is make sure that we have everything showing correctly, which looks like we do. So we got you guys on the screen now, so we can see comments that might be coming in. We can see if we're sideways or facing up, so it looks like we're good to go. And the topic of today's show is called Hockey for Life. So we're about to just dig right into that right now. Before we do, if you're watching us, please give us a like on Facebook and give us a comment in the comment section or a thumbs up to let us know you're watching. Let us know your comments or your questions. And of course, if you like what you hear, we appreciate you sharing the episode with your friends. Paul, tell us about Hockey for Life and why did we select this title? Where does it come from?
Well, USA Hockey put out these principles years ago when the ADM came out about the different stages of hockey for people. And it really covers, all the youth stages, then into the adult ages. And really it shows you kind of a guide for what you should be doing at that age and what's important and what the focus is on. And I think it just, revisiting it gives you a good alignment on kind of understanding the purpose of this all and, how at different ages, there's different things we're trying to do and shows the importance of those for those age groups.
Can you show them your computer screen real for a
Sure.
second, Paul? So Yoteka has this chart, and if you'd like a copy of it, you can download this online, but we could also send it to you. We're happy to do so. Let's see, maybe move it a little bit closer, just to show everyone what it looks like, and then we'll talk about it a bit. So we can get this download for everyone if you'd like it, and I think that's good, Paul. Yep. And then basically, what I think one of the reasons why we thought it was important to talk about today was it really brings us back to the ultimate goal, right? So we talked about the windows of trainability in the past. And it's easy to focus on where we are today for a player's development or for a certain team. And we talk about what the goal of a youth hockey club should be. And our goal and our role is to develop hockey players for life. Like people that fall in love with the game, people that maybe go on to be pros, maybe go on to be college players, but people that no matter where they end up at the end of their path, what path they choose, that they become hockey fans, they love the sport. Maybe their kids play in the future, they stay involved in an active lifestyle as they get older, they get involved in coaching or things like that, and they love what the game has done for their life, and they have special memories of the game, being a part of their life, being a part of their family's life, maybe growing up with their mom or their dad, and or their brothers or their sisters. And so really focusing on that big long-term picture, being able to have that one pager that kind of shows you the whole picture, and then how do we get to that goal of Hockey for Life? How do we get to that goal where all the kids love hockey for life and want to be a part of it for life?
Yeah, so I think starting with the stages, right? They're kind of the 7 stages, and I'll read off here so we get them in order and correct.
So you got the ultimate goal broken down into 7 main stages.
And that's the key is understanding the stages. That's really
where you are.
So where you are in the stage, because you can enter at any time.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about hockey. Usually when you're younger, to enter at a younger age is definitely easier. And why is that, right? Why can't a 13-year-old enter hockey and have success? Well, you can, but it's harder, and the reason actually is because of the windows of trainability.
Right.
Because if they're going to miss out on, from 6 years old to 12 years old on those important windows. That's why it's more difficult to enter later, but you still can, and that's why you see adults enter later and still enjoy the game and what it can do for them. So the first one is ages 0 to 6. Which is kind of the active start they talk about. And then 6 to 9 is fundamentals. And then 9 to 12 is learn to train. I think we start with those and talk a little bit about those. So the active start is really that physical literacy, right? It's those movement skills. And there's a lot, and there's definitely talk about playing other sports. USA Hockey encourages that, making sure kids experience different things from running, jumping, kicking, skating, swimming, all these different athletic movements that they start to understand their body. You think about it as a baby learning to walk, right? Crawl, fall. They slowly start to rise, and now they can walk, right? It's really, hockey and ice skating is really tough. Mm-hmm. You're on this small little steel blade, and we're expecting these kids at 9, 10, 11-year-olds to look like NHL players, when the reality is that it's so challenging and so difficult that it takes years and years of deliberate practice to get good at something, and kind of knowing the stages of where you're entering and what the focus is really important to start.
So for kids that are under 6 years of age, right, hockey or skating in general, great sport for them to sample and try. We want them doing all kinds of different movement skills, like you said, swimming, running, jumping, throwing, soccer, gymnastics, whatever that may be. And skating and hockey is a great part of that sampling, because skating is a different movement skill that kids to learn. It's some kind of gliding. It's a movement skill they can pick up something to sample with, and it's a great thing for if people have the kids, put them in different programs and try a skating program, try a hockey program in that 6 and under. And it's really in that sampling stage, that active start, the first of 7 stages of the hockey for life component.
And in that they talk about in the water, on the ground, in the air, on the ice or snow. Yeah. So it's kind of a neat thing where they put those in different categories on where you attain those skills.
So a key component of those overall movement skills being that skating or gliding on the ice or snow, right? So this is not the stage, 6 years old, under 6 years old, not the stage for pressure to win, pressure to compete, travel, etc., things like that. It's a sampling. It's a getting exposed to different movement skills.
Yeah, and that's why kids they'll join club hockey programs, like even our program at 6 years old, and it's important that we're joining and the expectations are aligned with why are they joining it, and it's not because they're trying to travel all around the states to win all these trophies and be this big success at 6 years old. Is to get in the right development program and model to make sure they hit all the right windows for down the road when they're ready to actually compete when they're older ages.
And that's why the kids say, like you said, we do have, towards the end of this phase, we do have some kids on our program like 6 years old, but the off-ice programming that they're doing, running, jumping, throwing, like different things like that, and we hope that they're doing other things outside of that as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot, and similar themes is that fun, right? And that fun factor is critical. That's something that we've really focused on at the 8 and under level, and redesigned our MITE program over the years to allow for a ton of fun. Yeah. The kids love coming to practice. They know they're going to be in a fun environment. They know they're going to have a lot of enjoyment with their teammates, a lot of positivity from the coaches, and a lot of activity where they go, and there's no time to really think about anything else. And that's really following the science of the windows of trainability at this age is really critical for the development.
Great. All right, let's move on to fundamentals, phase 2 of the 7.
Yeah, so the fundamentals is actually, it's still the physical literacy, right? Like we talked about, but now it's about acquiring skills, right? So that's a really important one where they start to acquire it. And this is still the MITE age level. So the amount of practices, the amount of touches on the ice, the off ice, these are all critical. That there's certain numbers that they don't go. It's not too little, but it's definitely not too much. Yeah. And that's the one concern, especially at the younger ages, about everyone hears the term the burnout, right? Yeah. And that's over practicing, over gaming at the younger ages, over scheduling, right?
Especially in competition and things like that.
Totally. Right? And if that happens, you may see some faster development and more success early, but how long is that sustainable for? And that's the risk of doing that at those younger ages, even at 12 and under and below, is doing that at the wrong times and specializing and trying to compete and learning to win kind of stuff at that age is by 13, 14, 15, that's when kids will have the burnout. And then the sad thing is that they'll actually quit. Yeah. And they'll miss out on all the life experiences and the hockey for life because we put it on them too early. And that happens a lot in a lot of sports, I think. And that's the critical part that we have to understand, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and understanding these phases is really critical. Yeah.
So it's called fundamentals, right? The stage is called fundamentals. We're starting to acquire some skills, physical literacy. So boys 6 to 9 and females 6 to 8 starting to acquire some skills and learn skills. They're still playing other multiple sports. Focuses on fun, so that they're falling in love with the sport. That's the biggest part of that phase is the first 3 letters of that word, fundamentals. So now let's move on to learn to train. So we have 8 to 11 for females and 9 to 12 for males. So just coming out of the 8 youth into the squirt Pee-wee age groups.
Yeah, and I'm using my computer here just to follow along because there's a lot of details in this. As they grow, as they change, their bodies are changing. Now this is where there's some change in the body, right? And now we're working on fine motor skills, right? And we're also cognitive development as well. So now they're starting to some understanding of why we're doing this, and that's really important part of it. And that's where now we start to increase the puck touches. The ice touches. So there's more ice touches now. Now they're up to 3 days a week. There's more off ice. There's some classroom work, and that's how the curriculum is built off of this Hockey for Life pyramid, because it follows the science behind the development of the kids, and that will definitely give the kids the best chance to have Hockey for Life.
So again, we have active start. We're just kind of sampling, right? Trying different movement skills up to 6 years old, 6 to 8, 6 to 9 years old. Fundamentals, making sure that it's fun, trying to give kids the passion for the sport, that they want to come to the rink, they want to be there as they learn some skills, so they can have some more success. Skills that are relatable to their windows of trainability, that they can learn at that right time, so they can enjoy the sport more as they get more proficient at skating and handling the puck a little bit. As you're coming out of the 8 and under age groups, squirt and Pee-wee age groups, learning to train. So now again, increasing our amounts of touches on the ice. That doesn't mean increasing the amount of games, right? So we go from two practices a week with one game or a game every other week, up to 3 practices a week to 1 game. So 3-to-1 ratio, and we're starting to increase the amount of technical training a little bit, right? And starting to increase some of those technical skills and really, again, learning to train, right? So the focus isn't on the competition and on the games, it's on the training, maximizing those touches in the environment of training those skills.
And the other key point that they talk about here is the training of the skills and the concepts, right? That's that cognitive ability. And then this is where we start to see some transfer to the game, right? And not all, but they're starting to see some of the stuff that they're doing. They start to understand it, and now you'll start to see some application during game mode.
Right. So learning to train. So they're just learning how to train themselves and as skills. So that takes us up to about 11 or 12 years old. The next phase.
So there's train to train, and that's 11 to 15 for females, 12 to 16 for males, and then there's learn to compete. That's 15 to 18 and 16 to 18 for males, and then we get to train to compete, and that's 19 plus. 1921, 1923, and then train to win, which is also 19 plus. That goes into the higher levels of really when winning really matters, and this is at the national level, right?
So it's amazing, right? The first time they use the word win is age 19 plus, right? So we're down at the squirt and Pee-wee level, 10 and 12 and level. We're talking about just learning to train. So we've hopefully by that point we've developed a passion and a love for the sport. We've moved into starting to learn how to train because now they love the sport and they want to get better at it. So we're teaching them how to train their skills, focusing on their skills. Train to train was the next phase, the 4th phase. Yeah. That really goes into the towards the end of the Pee-wee, into the bantam and early midget levels, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the train to train phase.
And this is where now instead of sampling all these different sports, now that's reduced. It doesn't mean it's given up though quite yet. Mm-hmm. So there's a little more specialization at this age, and now there's some more of that technical skill development and understanding. I'm working on this left crossover, this certain move, why I'm doing it, now how it applies. Now I can understand when I do that in a game, when I don't do that in a game. So that's when you start to see that stuff, and you start to see a little more some of the weight training now. There's some more of that starting to creep in, some strength stuff. Right, and that follows the windows of trainability, so it starts to creep in, and then that will grow into the next phase.
So as the player becomes 13 to 14 years of age, starting to go into the bantam age group, this is often a time where it starts to become a decision for the player. So maybe they're playing 2 or 3 sports at that point. Hopefully, do I want to pursue hockey at a high performance track, or do I want to continue playing hockey for fun and enjoyment only? And so starting to understand that decision is, do I want to take this as far as I possibly can to the highest level I possibly can? If that's the case, this is the time to start to really ramp it up, you get extra training. Your season becomes a little bit longer through the off season and preparing, and you start to scale back off of the other activities and really make a full commitment to hockey. Or you can of course still continue to play hockey and kind of go down towards the recreational path where you're playing because you love the sport and you're meeting friends and you're learning life lessons and things and understanding those. And maybe you're playing multiple sports too. Maybe hockey's your second or third sport that play. But starting to be aware of that decision and what it takes to go to the next level.
Yeah, and then once they hit the learn to compete, right? So that's a different phase. Like you talked about, they transfer into, well, now I have a mission on now 15 to 18. I begin to specialize more, and the competition, the number of competitions raises, and the importance of it, the actual importance of the amount of competition that there is really the critical part of it, as they start to get in that phase where now it's a priority on taking care of themselves, training, physical, not physical fitness, but training towards hockey.
Yeah.
Right. It's hockey. It's more hockey related. Where now I'm thinking about, after games, post game recovery, pre-game stuff, all this stuff now starts to get into that phase where I want to take my game to the next level, and understanding what you need to do to take it there, and that's that age, and that doesn't, like, we're talking 15 to 18 years old, right? So we're talking about midget level hockey, some junior hockey now, and now kids at the highest level, they're 18, 19 years old, looking at NCAA and Division I, Division III hockey.
So talk about this. We talked about learn to compete and then train to compete, and then the seventh final stage of train to win. Paul, talk about the seventh stage of the train to win and how that comes into play.
Yeah, so the train to compete is now they're transferring that to the game environment, right? And the train to win now, it's really focused on all the key characteristics of trying to win hockey games and do their best, right? So like you talked about, it's that we're like a professional, right? Everything's planned and structured for their day around the competition. Right. So now we're at 19 plus. That's what it's structured. Their daily life, they take care of whether they're in high school or college. They structure their day around to be at what we talk about as peak performance, right, or optimal performance, right? So everything's structured around that. Their sleep, their eating,
their training. The entire focus
training.
is the game is to be the best for that game. To make maximal amounts so they can win that game.
That's at 19 plus.
19 plus. They're preparing to win that game. So their practice, they're preparing to win that game. Their individual preparation, their mental focus, all the way the coach is going to run the lines and the systems, all towards that game on.
Yeah, but that doesn't, and even at the NHL level, that doesn't mean they just throw out everything that happened beforehand, right? They don't throw out, we want to make sure it's an active practice. The kids have fun. They have their skill development in the practice, like that. That's the critical thing, is that all the skill development and stuff that they do at the 12 and under ages, there's the same thing at the older ages. It's just packaged differently, and it looks differently, right? Instead of puck pirates, it's one-on-one battles along the boards or whatever it is. It's something like that, right? It's just different, and there's different percentages at different times of the season. Right, that's when they start to talk about season plans, right? You talk about peaking, and now you're starting about power play units, when they use the power play, how they practice it, all these different things. As they get into the older ages, that's when they start to really hit those stages, and that's really when the kids hit the the professional levels of their really the training to win, right? Even at the NCAA, like we've talked about before, it's that great development environment to develop hockey players and people, and it's about winning, but it's also really about the development of the players.
We had a comment here. I just want to say we had Grant watching. Hey, Grant Berkeley is watching today. Hey, Burke, how you doing? Hopefully you get some ribs cooking for us. And we got a comment from Arinda, a fan. I love this. Really clears it up for me as a parent. What I should be focused with for Nathan, and a reminder of not putting unnecessary pressure on him. That's awesome. Thank you for that, Arinda. So I just wanted to speak to that. So we talked about those 7 phases in the final phase, 19 plus being trained to win, and we often talk about some of the problems with the culture of youth sports, and oftentimes this is reversed, right? This is why this is so important. UC Hockey has these phases laid out clearly with what ages the emphasis is on and should be on. And this is from the National Development Program. This is from an organization that wants to create the best players in the world for the Olympics, for the World Championship teams, for the NHL level, and this is what they're saying is going to develop players the best.
And just on that point, Ben, is USA Hockey, National Hockey League, USA Hockey and National Hockey League, they don't care about how good our Squirt BB team is, right? Or how many games you win at the Squirt BB level or PBAA or PB They don't care about any of that, right? They want whole, developed people and players at the appropriate ages when it's time for them to take the next step to actually be a part of something. So when hockey, winning, losing, scoreboard results actually matter, right? And just to clarify, it doesn't mean the scoreboard results don't matter. It's just the emphasis is at different stages in this development pyramid.
Well, and what's that teaching? The result of the scoreboard at a younger age teaches us things. Doesn't teach us these kids are no good or these kids are the best. It teaches us how do you handle adversity, how do you handle success, how do we get better, all these other things, which is what the emphasis is. But I just want to get back to, so unfortunately, when this isn't looked at these phases, and maybe we talked about the professionalizing of youth sports, we talked about the entertainment culture, people maybe watching the NHL games or being a former NHL player or coach or whatever it is, and then applying those same principles to youth hockey at the different ages and phases when it's a different priority. And the problem, I don't think a lot of people don't realize how big that problem is. If the top phase of that it's supposed to be started at 19 years of age, trained to win, is now put into place at an 8 and under level, or 10 and under, or 12 and under, or hopefully not a 6 and under level, but we've seen that. How that actually flips everything upside down. So training to win now changes. What does that actually look like? The practice now becomes less about the skill development of the players and more about trying to win the game on the weekend, which is maybe a pro approach. So now the drills that they do in practice is a completely different approach. Now you're practicing your positions or your breakouts or your whatever you're going to do. It's going to try to win that game in that short term on the weekend, and you're forgetting about the long-term development of those kids. You can maybe make kids afraid to make a mistake or do these types of things, focusing on the win, and you're taking the fun and the passion out of it, which completely turns things upside down, right? So maybe talk, Paul, a little bit about what that can do to the approach. If even just that one main goal, like if we're trying to win hockey games, how it turns the whole model upside down.
Well, we've talked about it before. I think a couple things come to mind. One is ownership, and whose experience is this, right? And I think we talked about before about the PCA and the start of their intro video. They talk about, I thought youth sports was supposed to be fun. Why are we playing? So I think when we start talking about this, I'm around a lot of different age levels, and I'm seeing it at the 8 and under level still, where it's backwards, right? They're trying to, everything's about the winning, and it's really twisted. And we've seen over the years that when the focus is on the wrong things, that kids aren't playing the game for themselves, right? And now it becomes more adult centered. And that's really the problem, right? Is that we're trying to control everything as adults because we think we know everything. We think we know the right way. And now I control everything that the player does on the ice because I tell him what to do all the time, no matter what. And I do that because I want to win the 8-year-old hockey game. And I know if I tell Johnny what to do, that's going to give him some short-term success. But of course, he's not going to know why he's doing that. So it's really just turning him into a robot and almost brainwashing him to do that. And then we, down the road, we know that's going to be, really detrimental for his development. And not just his development as a hockey player, but development as a person. And that's when I talk about ownership, right? Because it's not his experience. His experience is me experiencing it for him. And there's quite a bit of difference, right? And when a coach or an adult is always telling the kid, do this, do that on the ice rink, and then when they fail, you did that wrong, you did that wrong, year after year after year, this stuff builds up, and it hurts self-esteem, it hurts confidence, and then it turns people away from the game. And when they're old enough, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, to make decisions on their own, they make the decision that they don't want to play anymore. Yeah. And it's not, and the sad thing is it's not the kid's fault, but now we blame the kid, say, oh, he's a quitter. Yeah. But really it was what the adults did in the early stages of his development and putting him in that environment that forced him into that decision over years of bad environment, almost abuse, right? And not the proper optimal learning environment. We talked about when you walked on the rink, this should be looked at as a classroom or a laboratory. Not the Olympics and the gold medals on the line kind of thing, right?
And we talk often, we've said it many times about the scary stat that's a reality, unfortunately, in youth sports. We've talked a lot about what youth sports can be, what's done for our lives, what it can do for kids' lives. That we feel every kid should have the opportunity to play youth sports because of what they can learn, the friends, the life lessons, the discipline, the hard work, the coachability, dealing with adversity, dealing with success, all these things that every kid should have the opportunity to do. And yet, unfortunately, 3 to 4 kids in the United States quit sports by the age of 13. More than 75% of kids are just done with sports completely by the age of 13 and missing out on those lessons and that active lifestyle for the rest of their life. And the number one reasons: too much pressure, not fun, not enough playing time, those types of things, which is completely adult controlled, right? And so scary thing to think about. It's something we have to take responsibility for. And this is all connected with if the model's reversed. Training to win, if the focus is on winning the game that weekend, I don't care if it's score day, which is the highest level of 10U hockey in California, Pee Wee AA. These are all development levels, youth hockey development levels, even the highest levels, even up 16 and under. And if the focus is train to win, you're going to have the focus of practice is not going to be fun. It's going to be on trying to win the games. The players that are most advanced, biggest, strongest, or most experienced are going to play more. The players that aren't as developed yet are going to play less. The kid maybe that's not as fast, stay on defense and stay back and don't try to make plays because they're going to maybe make a mistake and cost the team that way. And all these things are going to be changed. The way the coach is going to yell the instructions on the ice the entire game to make sure the kids do dump it off the boards or put it make safe plays to help the team win games. You can manufacture wins that way. That's not good coaching, right? That's where at the NHL level, a coach who wins a lot of games is considered a good coach. A coach who wins all the games at youth hockey may be a good coach or they may be an awful coach, depending on how they're doing that.
Yeah, and the point is, at certain age groups, the development is you have to justify you shouldn't be paid. It's every age level is development, right? Until you're a professional hockey player, and then you're being paid. But then even at the professional level, like we talked about last week, is they're still trying to develop the right culture, the right people, and improve their players. Because in the long run, that's going to give them more success, right? So it's a crazy notion to think that we're worried about 8 and under, 10 under, 12 and under, that, if they lose the game, it's the end of the world kind of thing, and we're getting all upset and emotional and screaming at kids that they lost the game or they made a mistake or we're worried about that, right? There's every opportunity, win, lose, or draw, good play, bad play, there's an opportunity to learn. And I think it's easy because hockey's an emotional game and we're all competitive, we want to win, that it's easy to forget that. It's really important that we have to take a step back and understand that these are kids, right? They are going to make mistakes, just like, adults, we're going to make mistakes, and making sure we have the perspective that, this should be a learning environment, kid focused, not adult centered. And that leads me to the next point is that's really critical, and we see this all the time, is we see a younger player, or even at the older ages, that is underdeveloped, and, a coach will say, well, he's no good. And that's one of the biggest things I see wrong with youth sports and youth hockey is when we tell, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, well, yeah, he just isn't very good. And with the research we've done and spending a lot of time on this, we realize that it's not the kid's fault that he's underdeveloped or he's not at a certain level. It's really what's been happening before in his hockey experience, and really it usually falls on the organization or the coach, right? Because they put the kid in the wrong environment or wrong program, right? So the 8-year-old, he's been just focused on, stand around, work on positions, and trying to win a hockey game and get on the best team. And that team had 15 players, and the coach played the top 8 or 9 players. And then, Johnny and Jimmy, those were the bad players, so they don't get to play because that's going to affect the 8-year-old result. And then now they come, to a new program 9 or 10, and they miss out on the windows, and they're broken players. And really, it's not the kid's fault. It's not that they're not good. It's because of what happened before in the previous hockey experience. So we know that that's why being put in the right environment as soon as you can is so critical, because it's so hard to get all those years back and all those puck touches, all those reps, and all the right environment.
The fun and the passion.
And that's right. So if they miss out on all that, they're going to be behind the eight ball, and they're getting rehabilitated, right? And that's why it takes so many years for someone that was in that toxic environment to actually believe in himself and believe in herself and have trust in the coach and trust in the game that hockey is actually supposed to be fun. Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was only about winning, and when I lost the coach and my dad was going to yell at me, I didn't know that was supposed to be that way. And I've experienced that, and that's really a sad thing, right? That kids don't even understand that practice is supposed to be fun, right? Games are supposed to be fun. The experience and hanging out with your buddies and waving to your friend while you're on the ice, that's supposed to be fun, and that's enjoyable, and that's okay because we're a kid and we get to do those things. And it doesn't mean we're not serious about training kids. It actually means we're more serious because we're willing to have the leadership and the courage to do the right thing for the kids. And that's the biggest thing we see in youth sports is that people don't have the courage to do the right thing. They're going to go along with society, go along with entertainment culture, and just yell, scream, and try to win the 12-year-old hockey game when the real development and the real courage and the real leadership is taking a stand and doing the right thing.
Standing against that culture and being willing to maybe lose the game, to play all the kids, to develop all the kids.
You're going to lose the game when you play. If you have 12 kids on a team and you have 6 really high skilled players and 6 underdeveloped kids, and you play everyone equally, and the other team has 8 really strong kids, you'll probably lose the game.
Yeah.
And it's having the courage to do the right thing and make sure you develop those kids. All the kids on the bench, that's real coaching, that's real leadership, and that's real truth in the long run. And now the problem is that we're focused on the short term, so it's hard for people to see that, right? And that's our job to educate and develop that.
And being willing to separate, like you said, being able to separate your own ego, your own interests from what your role is in that environment. The role of us in a youth sports environment is not to manufacture something so for our own success, for our own, we put on a banner or whatever on an advertisement, champion, whatever, and hang the banners. We love winning. We're athletes ourselves. We love to compete and love to win. But knowing what our role is in those stages of development and in stages of hockey for life, and knowing to separate our own egos from what's best for all of the players, and knowing that, like you said, kids have different backgrounds and experiences. So maybe the kids have been in a good, strong sporting environment for years, or maybe some kids started later, and also kids just develop at different rates. Regardless, some kids within the same program are going to develop at different rates. Some kids grow faster. Some kids go through different windows where they pick up skills faster. And we're not just going to focus only on those kids because those kids are going to help us win. We're going to focus on all of the kids because also we know that they can all develop into good hockey players if we give them that right environment.
And if you think of this way, doesn't every player deserve a chance to reach his full development and his optimal genetic potential, right? If you go to a program where they just focus on the top players, right, and you're one of those top players, that's great for that 1 year, 2 years, but what's going to happen in a couple of years when you're not that top player anymore, right? You will be replaced. Yeah. And that's the scary thing, is that you need to be in an environment that puts all the kids first. And that's why even for elite players, it's important to be in environments that it's not just about developing them. It's about developing the players around them, the players below them, and even on the lower teams in them.
Yeah.
Because the stronger and more we develop all the players, the stronger the culture and the environment and the training becomes. And in turn, in the long run, the better that elite player will be.
Yeah. Great. So Paul, if someone wants a copy of the sheet, they can just email you.
Yeah, we'll email it, or I think the best thing is we'll post it on Facebook as well, so people can take a look at it that way.
And it's called USA Hockey's Hockey for Life, 7 stages. As always, it's from the American Development Model, of course. As always, if you like what you heard today, and if you're watching along with us, give us a comment, a thumbs up, let us know you're there. We love hearing your comments and your questions. Also share the post with your friends, and we'll be back next Monday at 2 p.m. as always for episode number 11 of Inside the Junior Reign. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.